So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome and welcome back here at BSN Network. Hey, they welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, July 3rd. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is Friday, one more day until 4th of July, the 4th of July weekend. Obviously today is a big off day, I guess, for a lot of people. People go places, hang out with family, friends, do stuff like that. Although I'm still doing a podcast today. We got a lot of sports to get to today, and then we'll head into the 4th of July weekend, hoping that baseball is coming soon. All right, we hope that baseball, we got some very, 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 very cool footage yesterday from the Yankees. The Yankees posted some videos of spring training, and their owner, Hal Steinbrenner, said that you might see some fans, 20 to 30% of the stadium, in attendance for the Yankees games this season. We'll talk all of that. But first, we got Demaryius Thomas and the Jets. There were some rumors. Reportedly, the Jets are still talking to Demaryius Thomas about a potential return. I'll talk about that. If you don't know who Demaryius Thomas is, I'll get into it in a little bit. Kemba Walker, Celtics in the championship. Is this Kemba Walker's kind of last chance to win a finals, to win a championship? Obviously, he was with the Hornets all those years. Bobcats switched their name to the Hornets. So he was with both of them for a long time, from the beginning to pretty much the middle of his career to now. He's on the Celtics, and he's been putting up big numbers this year. But is this his final year? He went to the Celtics to win a finals. Is this his final year to really show the world, show everybody that he's a final kid, that he can win a finals? Then next up, we got the Yankees spring training and the fans. Like I said, fans are supposed to be in attendance, 20 to 30%. And then you got, obviously, just Yankees resumed yesterday. We'll talk some other stuff around the MLB. That's all coming up later on in the podcast. So that is what I got for the podcast today. Let's get right into it. So this is the BSN Network podcast, and we're going to start it off with some Demaryius Thomas news. So if you don't know who Demaryius Thomas is, Demaryius Thomas had a very successful career so far. He's had a very successful career. He was with the Broncos for the majority of his career. He was with the Broncos for most of his career, from the beginning to the middle of his career. And he was very good. He was a very, 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 very solid player with that team. He was probably the best Broncos receiver in his prime on that team. I wouldn't say all time, no. But on that team, probably the best Broncos receiver. As well, he was a five-time Pro Bowler, first teamer. He's a very good player. In his prime, Demaryius Thomas is was one of the top receivers in the NFL. I mean, we can all agree on that. You look at the numbers in his prime with the Broncos, what he did with that team was just so good. They were a very, very, very good team with the Broncos. When he was with the Broncos, they were good. When he left the Broncos, it's kind of funny. When he left the Broncos started to go downhill a little bit. He went to the Patriots, played there for a couple of games. I don't even know if he really played there for that many. That was last season. Played there for a little bit. Last season, he, nothing crazy. Then the Jets picked him up. When the Jets picked him up, I was like, oh, I know this guy. I know Demaryius Thomas. I was actually pretty happy about it. Until you start to look at, this guy's older, until you start to look at all the negatives. Oh, he's older. He hasn't had this amount of yards in a while. He hasn't made a Pro Bowl in this long time. He hasn't been a first teamer in this long time. He hasn't been able to get this many yards in a game in a long time. I'm like, okay, well, I was still happy about it. I was happy when the Jets got him. I was very happy when the Jets said, oh, we're going to go on and get Demaryius Thomas. Because it said, the article at the top headlines were, Jets snag a 5-time Pro Bowl or whatever. I was happy when we got Demaryius Thomas. I was. I mean, I liked Demaryius Thomas, too, when he was a Jet. Broncos, Patriots, I didn't have any hate for him. I don't hate the guy. I mean, when he was with the Jets, I really liked him. What he did with the Jets was very good. I really, really liked him. Watching him play was very fun. And when we got him, I was like, oh, great, we're getting a 5-time Pro Bowler. This is awesome. And then you start to read the news. Then you go into, then you Google him and you see, oh, the last time he made a Pro Bowl was like 4 years ago, and you're like, oh, geez. But I'll tell you what, Demaryius Thomas last year was so good with the Jets. He played very, very well with the Jets. That's all I'm saying. He played very well with the Jets. Okay, maybe the touchdowns aren't there, but maybe the numbers. And I always say this: you watch a guy play on the field, he doesn't look like a good player. You look at the numbers, completely different story. Changes your mindset 100%. Right? That's pretty much the same exact deal with the. That's the same exact deal with the Demaryius Thomas situation. You watch him play on the field. I don't know. He was good. He wasn't. I mean, you watch him play on the field. He's very good. The touchdown numbers weren't great. He was good, but he wasn't anything crazy good. You look at the numbers. You're like, okay, this guy's actually it's pretty good. And I really liked Demaryius Thomas. I really did. I liked what he did with the Jets, and he was kind of the opposite of like a Carson Wentz. You watch Carson Wentz on the field, you're like, oh, geez, this guy's not a top 10 quarterback. You look at the numbers, you're like, oh, this guy's a top 10 quarterback. He's the opposite of that. You're like, you look at him on the field, and you're like, okay, this guy's good. I'm not saying top 10 receiver. I'm just saying, oh, watch him on the field. He's good. You look at the numbers, and you're like, oh, man, this guy's really not that good. But you got to watch Demaryius Thomas on the field play. He's a very, very, very good player. And Darnold to him was very successful. Them two together were very successful. And I think for Darnold, we got Brashad Perryman. We got Denzel Mims, obviously, in the draft. We got Josh Doxson. We got players like that. At the tight end spot, we got Ryan Griffin, Chris Herndon. If we get Demaryius Thomas over here, that would, top off the receiving core. And I like a receiving core, too. I really believe... And I'm very high on Denzel Mims. I really believe we got a first-round talent in the second round in Denzel Mims from what I saw at Baylor. Brashad Perryman, we are getting a guy that is just about to sprout out, I believe. Because what I saw last season with the Bucs was his best. And he was at his best last year. And I think that's only good stuff to come. And I think he's happy. I think he's excited to work with Darnold, and I think he's excited to work with the Jets offense, which is something you don't usually get, players to be excited to be on the Jets. You don't usually get that. If anything, you'll get a guy join the Jets and don't say anything, or you'll get a guy join the Jets and say stuff, and then a year later he'll be requesting a trade because he hates it. You look, for example, Jamal Adams, right? Joined the Jets, was happy to be a Jet, now he hates it. Now he hates being a Jet. But Brashad Perryman, I think, really does, and I'm not even just saying this just because of, all these players, when they join a team, they're like, oh, I'm excited to be this, one of the best organizations. Then you see they join another team, and they say the same exact thing, and you're like, oh, well, what is really the best organization? But I really believe Brashad Perryman, he said Sam Darnold and him could be dangerous. He never said anything about the Jets. He never said anything about that. Now, Connor McGovern, our new center... I mean, I like the guy. I think out of all the offensive linemen we got, he's probably one of the best offensive linemen we got. We got him out of the Broncos. I like the guy a lot. But he said that he thinks the Jets could be a Super Bowl team. I mean, come on, that's taking a little too far. Way too far. I mean, you're taking it 10,000 steps too far. We'll be lucky if we hit 6, 7 wins, 8 wins this year. 8 wins is our goal, not a Super Bowl. I would love to see a Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to happen. But with Brashad Perryman, what I saw last year at the Buccaneers, and we always talk about the underrated players, right? Brashad Perryman last year, nobody talked about him because guess who else was having big seasons? Mike Evans, one of the most popular guys in the NFL, and Chris Godwin, who has grown a name for himself. And then you had Brashad Perryman, kind of just the lone guy on his own island, just doing his stuff, and he was playing very, very well. Demaryius Thomas, Brashad Perryman, Denzel Mims, Josh Doxson, Ryan Griffin, Chris Herndon. That might not sound like a good receiving core, but what I saw when Chris Herndon's healthy is very good. Ryan Griffin, he showed everybody in the NFL that he's good. Ryan Griffin surprised a ton of people, including me. I did not expect Ryan Griffin to be that good. Believe me, I did not expect Ryan Griffin to be that good. I didn't. Ryan Griffin, I did not expect him to be that good. As a matter of fact, When he came on the team, I was like, it's just another practice squad player that's not going to do anything for us. Or, we got him from the Texans, but just another player that's not going to do anything for us. He was very, very good. And now if you have him and Chris Herndon added with Demaryius Thomas, Sam Darnold, you can't say Sam Darnold doesn't have a good receiving core this year. That's why I really believe this year, this is Sam Darnold's true judgment year. And I know we all said it last year. Well, he got mono last year, so you can't judge him off of a season that he missed, 3 games from. You can't say that. Well, technically 4, because he missed 3 games, and then it was a bye week, and then they came out of the bye week. So technically he missed 4 weeks, but 3 games. And you can't judge a guy off of on a injury, illness, whatever you want to call it, an illness halted season, right? Because it's almost like saying, this guy missed 10 games, let's judge him off of the 6 games he plays, right? You can't do that. You can judge a guy off of if he plays 13 games and maybe only misses 3. You can judge him off of that, probably. If you miss 10 games and play 6, you can't judge him off of that. You could probably judge, I don't know. But you can't judge Darnold for his first year either, because he had Todd Bowles as a head coach. He had not a very good offensive coordinator. He had no receivers except Robbie Anderson. I mean, he really didn't have nobody. He had Jermaine Kearse and a couple guys mixed in there, but they were older. He had Terrell Pryor, I know, but they were kind of all. Like, Terrell Pryor had his moments. Jermaine Kearse had moments. Jermaine Kearse was probably the best receiver on that team that year. Besides Jermaine Kearse, he had no offensive line. Really no receivers besides really Jermaine Kearse and a little bit of Robbie Anderson mixed in. He had no really big running back. Isaiah Crowell had a couple good games. Elijah McGuire. He had really no go-to running back. Isaiah Crowell had that big game against, the Broncos. Elijah McGuire had a couple nice runs. That season, too, he got injured. He had that foot injury. He missed a couple of games for that. Then go into net last year. He obviously got an illness. He got mono. He obviously got mono, missed a couple games, missed about 3. And then didn't really have any receivers, didn't really have any offensive line, one of the worst offensive line. Had a very good running back that wasn't utilized well, which made him not very good. Not a very good head coach. If you really think about the things, like everybody, makes fun of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's horrible. Well, why don't you try to put your quarterback in the situation Darnold's in? For the first 2 years of his career, he's had no receivers. Really, Le'Veon Bell, I believe, could be very good, but what he's shown last year, no really running backs. Has not had a good head coach. Do not tell me Todd Bowles and Adam Gase are the recipe for success at the head coaching spot. No. Maybe at the defensive coordinating spot for Todd Bowles, Adam Gase, I don't know where to put that guy in a football field. Because wherever he is, he doesn't seem like he's good. No offensive line, although we built that. That's why I really believe Sam Darnold's, this is his true judgment year. He has a bad year this year. Jets are going to have to start looking for a quarterback because that's 3 years of non-success, and this year the Jets really put stuff around you, right? First year, no offensive line, no running back, 1 good receiver, okay? Last year, actually, in his first year, too, he had that foot injury and stuff. That wasn't the end of the world. Wasn't the complete end of the world, but still, I guess you could go with it. So, he had the foot injury. Then, the next year, last year, he, obviously, like I just said, he got the injury, the illness, no really running back game because Le'Veon Bell wasn't utilized well. No receivers, probably the worst offensive line, if not one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Now this year, we upgraded our offensive line. It has taken tremendous upgrades on the power rankings list. It has taken tremendous rankings going upward. You've seen that. Also, we've got new wide receivers, Denzel Mims, Brashad Perryman. We already have Ryan Griffin. Chris Herndon's coming back. Possibly Demaryius Thomas. Right? The 2 best receivers right now are probably Brashad Perryman and Denzel Mims. I hope Denzel Mims. Then you got a running back who seems like he's ready, and it seems like Adam Gase this year might actually utilize him the right way, although I don't know, with all these other running backs he's grabbing, I'm a little concerned. But now this year is his true judgment year. If Darnold has another bad year, you're not going to see Darnold probably in a Jets uniform for much longer. Or you'll see the Jets take a quarterback in the draft, and they'll let Darnold play. If he does bad, you know what, Darnold, you were here. You played 3 seasons with us. What we got was not what we were expecting. Do I really believe Darnold's going to have a good year? Yes, because, to be honest, do I really believe Darnold's going to have a good year? Yes, because he's got a better offensive line. Also, what he's been doing in the offseason is very good. I've seen him working in the offseason. It's very good. You could tell this is his season. You could tell he's like, okay, this is my year. I either play good this year and I earn my spot on the Jets, or I play bad this year and I'm not on the Jets and I find myself maybe as a backup for the rest of my career. Or maybe he joins another team because maybe the Jets just weren't the right situation. That could happen. That could 100% happen. Believe me, it probably could. Because I'm telling you, man, the Jets did not put him in a very good situation, and teams are going to see that. And still now he's not in a very good situation. I mean, they built the receiving core up. Hopefully Le'Veon Bell is a bounce back here. Better offensive line by far. They still don't have great assets around him, though. I mean, he has a good. I've never said great. He has a good receiving core. You look at some of these other receiving cores. Look what the Cardinals have done to Kyler Murray now. Like, last season wasn't good, but Kyler Murray, it's because he's got the running. You don't really need 100% a receiver. Look what he did last season. Look what they did this year. They got out, in my opinion, the best receiver in the NFL. But the Jets, that's my whole thing. They didn't take a big splash this offseason. They've taken a couple little ones. They've taken a lot of little ones. Almost last year. I compare the Jets and the Bills a ton. The Jets last year got Le'Veon Bell, the biggest splash in the offseason. Everybody was talking about Le'Veon Bell. Went to the Jets. That was our big one. Him, Mosley were our really 2 huge free agent signings. Oh, that's another guy. Jamison Crowder. We still have Jamison Crowder. It's another guy. Our receiving core is good, I'm telling you. And we got Jamison Crowder, C.J. Mosley, Le'Veon Bell. We got the big splashes. The Bills went out and got little ones. They got, John Brown, Cole Beasley, Frank Gore. They got, I think Frank Gore, right? They got him last year. They got a ton of good players. The Bills went out and got a ton of little name players, but good. Like, John Brown's not a big name in the NFL. Cole Beasley's grown a name for himself because he was on the Cowboys, Dez Bryant times, them two together. He grew a name for himself. But that kind of, I know that might sound off topic, but that kind of does tie back into, if Demaryius Thomas does get the Jets, this really is it for Darnold. Like, if Darnold has a bad year this year, he's got Jamison Crowder, Brashad Perryman, Denzel Mims, and now possibly Demaryius Thomas. This is like a big year. This is a big judgment year for Darnold. The New York Jets reportedly remain in contact with free agent wide receiver Demaryius Thomas about a potential return. Connor Hughes of The Athletic noted that the pairing makes sense given the Jets' lack of depth at the wide receiver spot. Thomas recorded 36 receptions for 433 yards and a touchdown in 11 games with the Jets last season. A 5-time Pro Bowler said in April he wants to return to the Denver Broncos, the franchise where he spent his first 9 seasons. "I would love to be a Denver Bronco," Thomas said on 104.3 The Fan. That's where I got drafted. That's where I played well. A lot of friends that consider me family out there. I love Denver, but it had to go down the way it did. It is what it is. I'll retire there one day. The Broncos loaded up on skill positions during the 2020 NFL Draft, likely ending any chance Thomas had of returning the old stomping grounds. The Jets could provide him with the best opportunity for playing time now. He's seemingly fully healthy after recovering from his 2018 Achilles tear. There may be no thinner wideout corpse in the NFL than that of the Jets, who are selected to start Brashad Perryman at the rookie second-round pick Denzel Mims in the 2020 draft, and Jamison Crowder. So that is what that article says. And you heard how he said he wants to go back to Denver. I don't really blame him. I I understand it. I get where he's coming from. And to be honest, I mean, it's not like I feel like he hated being with the Jets. It's not like that. I don't think it's anything to do with the Jets. He kind of did explain it. He kind of just wants to go back to Denver. He wants to go back to the Broncos, wants to go back there. He did say he has family and stuff there. He says he has people there that he knows and stuff. Like, he wants to go back there, and I think that's kind of like, I think that's with a couple of these players. Like, it's not always the team. Now, sometimes with the Jets it is, but it's not like always the team, right? It's not really always, involving the team. Oh, why don't you want to go here? Sometimes it is because of that, and maybe he does want to retire there. I know that a lot of guys sign one-day contracts to go retire with the franchise that they started with. I know a lot of guys do that. I do. A lot of guys go and sign one-day contracts with teams. Justin Tuck, Darrelle Revis, for example, 2 New York sports teams did it. 2 New York sports players, did it. That's just an example. Many players, I'm sure, have done it. Many players have. There's been a ton of players that come back, sign one-day contracts to go play for that team. Not for one day. They sign like a one-day contract so then they can go and retire with that team. That is not what Demaryius Thomas seems like he wants to do. It seems like he really wants to just finish off his career, play there, finish off his career there, and then, retire as a Bronco. He was most successful with the Broncos. All those 5 Pro Bowls, like they noted in the article, and like I said before, all those 5 Pro Bowls were with the Broncos. None of them was with the Patriots. None of them was the Jets. It makes sense. He had an Achilles tear in 2018, people. He's not going to probably be a Pro Bowler anymore. He might be, but he's not going to be like he used to. He's definitely not going to be like he used to be. And that's what I'm expecting out of the Jets. Like, if we get him, it might be on a 1-year deal. He's not going to be great. He'll be good. He was good with us last year. I really liked him last year with the Jets. I really did. There was a couple of nice plays. Darnold, I feel like that was always his safe route because Demaryius Thomas has good hands. He's a veteran. It always feels like Darnold, when he was under pressure, when he needed to get it away, he almost threw it to Demaryius Thomas because he really trusted him. Or I noticed last year, too, Demaryius Thomas was running a lot of the in routes, too, which is kind of a trustworthy route because, it goes to show you that you can make catches in double covered. If the 2 linebackers, are in closing in on you, that's double covered, for example. Or if you do in like a mesh route and another mesh route, and that corner's carrying over, you throw the ball over here, that corner can quickly intercept that. But since he trusts Demaryius Thomas, he threw it to Demaryius Thomas a lot, like in those situations. Demaryius Thomas a lot of time was thrown to single, double covered, not really double all the time, but single covered, and you might think, oh, single covered. Well, sometimes the guys are in zone and stuff. But Demaryius Thomas, you could tell Sam Darnold really trusts him because he's a veteran, good hands, pretty fast. He almost is built like a tight end. He's almost got the strength of a tight end. But I really do believe he didn't. I don't think he hated it with the Jets. I think there's the whole thing with the Broncos is he wants to go back where he started from. I don't think the Broncos that's going to be the case because they still have Courtland Sutton. They still have Noah Fant. They just got Jerry Jeudy. I don't really think the Broncos are going to go back and get him. I really do believe the Broncos right now are in straight playoff mode. Drew Lock, Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. I really believe the Broncos are in like full play. They're in full playoff mode. Like, I really don't think like Demaryius Thomas is really on their mind. But that's just me. So if Demaryius Thomas does come back to the Jets, I would love that. I would love to see that. And like I said, it doesn't have to be on no crazy 3-year deal. It could be on like a 1-year deal. Just bring him back here, get us a little more depth in the receiver spot. To be honest, this article was harsh on the Jets receivers. And like I said, I don't think they're great. And we have more depth than we have to do last year. Brashad Perryman, Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims, Josh Doxson, Ryan Griffin, Chris Herndon. A lot of people forget about the tight ends. Chris Herndon, he's a receiving tight end. He's a lot like an Evan Ingram. He's built like a tight end, but he's like an Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is built completely like a receiver. That guy's built like a receiver, plays tight end. I don't really know. He's good. He's very good. Not very good. Evan Ingram's good. Evan Ingram's good. He has his moments. He definitely has his moments. Chris Herndon reminds me a lot of an Evan Ingram. Ryan Griffin is your go-to, pound it, get the ball to him, just truck his way ahead tight end. Evan Ingram or Chris Herndon, he is your go-to kind of receiving tight end. And Chris Herndon can receive too. He's built like a tight end, but he's a good receiving tight end. You could throw it deep. He can get you. He can make a 7-yard catch turn into 10, 12 yards. He can get those extra 5 yards. Ryan Griffin is mainly a catch, go down kind of tight end. He can truck his way ahead. Chris Herndon could have more speed probably. Chris Herndon would be more like a receiving tight end. So a lot of people don't realize tight ends. Everybody's like, oh, they got this receiver. Well, a tight end is technically a receiver, people. Right? You got, these are their receivers. Meanwhile, they're missing out on. A lot of people did that with the Patriots. They're like, oh, they got Julian Edelman. Who else? There's a guy named Rob Gronkowski, although I don't think the Patriots receiving corps is very good. Even last year. But even like the year, like everybody was like, oh, look at the Patriots receiving corps. Everybody sometimes forgets about the tight ends. Tight ends is one of the most important positions on the field. You block, you catch, make big plays. If you're good, you could turn into Gronk. Alrighty, so now we move into a it's kind of funny because it's a let me just get it up. So here, let me just very quickly. So let me just kind of say this. All right, so Kemba Walker, he's a very good player. This is like not many people might not really know who Kemba Walker completely is. But he's a very good player. And what I saw, and this is actually a very good topic in my opinion. So let me just get up everything I need to get up here. So everybody's talking about Kemba Walker being his last chance to do this, and this. His last chance to win a finals. Is this his year to win a finals? A lot of people are talking about that. Kemba Walker, if you don't know who he is, everybody's saying, oh, Kemba Walker's chance has finally come. Kemba Walker has been a very good player throughout his career. A very good player. Kemba Walker, you could make the argument, is one of the top players in the league for the past couple of years. He was with the Hornets for the majority of his career, and then he just recently, actually this year, moved over to Boston. Got tired of Charlotte. It wasn't a bad breakup. He just went over to Boston. He went over to Boston, and I guess in hopes of winning a finals. And this is everybody saying this is his year. This is Kemba Walker's year. Now, I'm not surprised everybody's saying that because here's the Celtics, some of their notable players. And I've always mentioned this about the Celtics. They have a very good team. A lot of people don't realize it. They do. They have a very good team. I don't like Boston teams. I don't like Boston. I hate Boston. Boston despises New York sports, so New York sports despises Boston. I don't like Boston teams. Like I said, I'm never gonna call. I don't like when I don't like people and they're good. I will admit they're good. Bill Belichick. I admitted it the other day. He's the best coach in the NFL. I hate him. I can't stand him. But you gotta give credit where credit's due. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Jaylen Brown. Okay, he's one of the biggest guys. Gordon Hayward and his Cantor has played well. Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker. Those are some. That's a very, very, very good roster. The two names that really stick out to me are three names: Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker. And Kemba Walker, throughout his career, he has been a very good three-point shooter. He's been a very good, successful player. Throughout his career, he's like a 36% three-point shooter. He's not I've said good. He's been a good three-point shooter. I wouldn't consider him a Curry. I wouldn't consider him a Stephen Curry, a Klay Thompson, something like that. He's good. He relies, and this is what I like about his game a lot, he relies a lot on drawing a foul. He is smaller. He's only 184 pounds. He's only 6 foot. He's a smaller player. He drives a lot, and what happens is he gets fouled because he's smaller. Not a big. He doesn't weigh that much, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just saying he's smaller. He's only really 6 foot, which is for a regular human being, for an everyday person, that's not really that bad. It's actually decent, but for a basketball player, 6 foot is quite tiny, and you could see it on the court too, and that's what I think happens a lot. He drives. And those big men, they usually foul him, and he gets to the line. Right? He gets to the line. You can tell he's not a big rebounder. The one thing I'm not a big fan of about Kemba Walker is he's not a big assist or rebounder. Now, rebounder I can understand. Assist though, he kind of does his own things at times, and it's not that I dislike that, but I mean he's on a team with the Celtics with Jaylen Brown, Enes Kanter, Brad Wanamaker, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, all those good guys on that team, right? You're gonna have to share the ball a little bit, and this is where it gets into the point here when what he did with Charlotte was just so good. What he did with the Hornets was very good, and he was a very good player with the Hornets. His chance never came with the Hornets because the Hornets were never really that kind of team. They were never really a team to really be like be where everybody talks about them, be like, oh, they're going to win the finals this year. They're going to win the finals. This year, it's not the case for Kemba. This year, everybody's saying, oh, can Kemba win the finals? And can Kemba win the finals? Hold up. But that's how everybody talks about. Is this Kemba Walker's year? Kemba's shot has finally come. That's the title of all these articles. Kemba's shot has finally come. Is this Kemba Walker's year to win a final? Is this Kemba Walker's time to show the basketball world that he is a NBA final contender and a winner? Because he wasn't with it with Charlotte. Now, he was very good with Charlotte. But just Charlotte in general, the Hornets have not had a very good team in the past couple of years. One thing I can give to the Hornets is the Hornets they usually have close games with the Nets, but it's not very hard to do when the Nets really don't have many people. But here we go. Kemba's shot has finally come. After winning everything in college, Kemba Walker spent his first 8 NBA seasons on a team without a chance. That's why he's in Boston, and this is his moment to create a new legacy. Exactly. He was on the Hornets. They had no chance. Do not tell me any year you predicted, unless if you're a Hornets fan and you are a Hornets fan and you are a very hopeful Hornets fan, but do not tell me any NBA fan would say, oh, the Hornets are going to win this year. Oh, the Hornets are going to win this year. Oh, the Hornets are going to win this year. When throughout those 8 years, you had the Cavs dominance, the Warriors dominance, you had the Heat dominance early on in his career. You had the Spurs. You had the Thunder. You had a lot of those good teams. Do not tell me the Hornets. And now, just in the recent years, obviously, you had the Raptors. You still had the Warriors. Now it's completely different. Now he's on one of those top teams in the league. Now he's on the Celtics. Now he's on one of those top teams in the league. And now he's trying to show everybody that this is his legacy. This is his time to show that he can win a final. This is his time to show that this isn't anything, yes, it took him most of his career to do, but, it's to the point now where Kemba's got to win a final. He's played all these years in the league. He's shown the NBA how good he can be, so now is his time to win a final. So here we go. Kemba Walker wasn't the first NBA player to lose more games as a rookie than his entire amateur basketball career, and he certainly wasn't the first lottery pick to spend his rookie season playing for a loser. This is the sort of thing that happens when a league mandates its worst team to be rewarded with the draft's top picks. But you'd be hard pressed to find a player whose decent from winner to loser was more pronounced. For one thing, by the time he entered the NBA, Walker had done more winning than most of his peers. In 3 years with the University of Connecticut, UConn, he led the school into a Final Four appearance, a Big East Conference championship, and as a junior, an NCAA tournament title. He was named the Final Four's most outstanding player during his last run, and a few months later, in June 2011, he was drafted 9th overall by the Charlotte then Bobcats. So, like I said earlier on in the podcast, he played with the Bobcats, who are now the Hornets. It's the Charlotte Bobcats that turned into the Charlotte Hornets. And don't ask me completely why there's a name change. I know the Bobcats, that was actually not that long ago. That was like 2012, right? Wasn't too long ago. A lot of people think like the Supersonics and all that, they were long ago. They're actually trying to get a Seattle hockey team back to over there, and everybody's saying the basketball team as well. Now, I'm just going to go off topic a little bit here. I just want to say something quickly. All these Seattle fans are complaining about... I don't really blame them, but it's just kind of funny. Like, all these Seattle fans are complaining about, we don't have a hockey team. We don't have an NBA team. All we have is a football team. It's just going to show you with people with baseball sometimes. Like, you have the Mariners. Like, I know they're not good, but do not tell me if there's a Seattle basketball team or hockey team, unless if they turn into the Vegas Knights, that they're going to win it their first year. It's going to take some time, especially basketball. There isn't that one team right now in the NHL that really is blowing the world away that's going to be like, they're going to win it. You say the Capitals... You could say the Golden Knights. You could say a couple of teams. You could say the Islanders. The Islanders have had a good year. Lightning. You could say a couple teams. The Bruins. But there's not like that one team. Like this year, it's Lakers, Bucks. In the NHL, it's a couple of teams. You could say the Lightning and the Vegas Golden Knights. But then you also got the Bruins. You got the Islanders, right? And for the NBA, it's Bucks, Lakers. Clippers, yes. Clippers too. But that's the thing. Like, everybody's complaining about, Seattle has no sports. Well, you got an NFL team that, do not tell me they've not been successful. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion, the third best quarterback in the NFL. You got the third best quarterback in the NFL, okay, in Russell Wilson. And you are the Spurs of the NFL. He's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks, one of the most consistent teams in the past 10 years, okay? And you have a baseball team that isn't very good, but if you were loyal, you would stick to them in the Mariners. And the Mariners, I know this is a basketball topic, but the Mariners, they're not horrible. Last year, they were in the playoff talk, and I think the 60-game season could actually be interesting for the Mariners. Right? It's not too bad being a Seattle sports fan. Everybody talks about, we don't have an NHL and an NBA team. We have one of the best football teams. You have one of the most consistent football teams. And you have a MLB team that is young, rising. You got to give it time, especially in the MLB. You got to give it time. Your first-round draft pick is not going to be up there until about 3 years. You got to give it time. That's the thing with the MLB. You got to give it time. You very rarely see teams go like the Yankees where just randomly, it's just randomly 1 year they're just so good, and 2 years later they got one of the top pitchers in the MLB. Like, you don't usually see that. The Yankees, they're one of the rare calls to the MLB. MLB you usually see a little bit of an increase. That season before the Yankees, they were horrible. That next year, everybody was like, the Yankees are not going to... the Yankees bottomed the AL East again, everything like that, fighting with the Orioles for the bottom of the AL East. They made it to the ALCS, lost in Game 7 to Charlie Moore and the Astros, but, nobody expected that. Usually in MLB, we're bad this year, we're a little bit better next year. Sometimes in the NFL, you see that. You'll see a team with a first-round draft pick, a great player, all of a sudden turn around that team in 1 year. You don't usually see that all the time in the MLB. You got to give it patience. And then there's the other side of the equation. Walker didn't join just any retooling team. He joined one that dropped 59 of its 66 games during his rookie season, which was shortened due to a lockout. Nearly twice as many as the total he lost, 30 during his 3 years at UConn. Good for the worst winning percentage in the league history. Some might have taken it all in stride as part of the natural course of his career, not Walker. The defeats drained him. He's a guy who gets beat down by losing, says Gerald Henderson, who played for years alongside Walker in Charlotte. 30 teams, 30 days. The biggest story from each NBA team ahead of the league's return. So, yeah, they did 30 teams in 30 days. The low point came after one of his team's 29 home losses. No one can recall exactly which one. Chris Winthy, a member of the Charlotte coaching staff, found Walker in the locker room screaming and weeping. Whitney had been around the NBA for a long time. He played for 11 seasons and was now in his second coaching. But Walker, Whitney says, was the first NBA player I've ever seen actually break down after a loss. It would take 3 seasons for Walker to make the playoffs, 5 for him to finally win a playoff game. The victory came in 2016 when Walker helped the Hornets, who had changed their name from the Bobcats to the Hornets in the 2014-2015 season, pushed the heavily favored Heat to 7 games. Losing that year stung, but the experience won in every possession of every minute of the game. Every game felt like it could after the series left a mark. That was one of the best times I've ever had playing basketball, Walker says. Now it was so competitive. The Hornets failed to make the playoffs in any of the following 3 seasons. Walker's was left watching from home. Something he said last year he does because I'm a big basketball fan, but I hate not being there. Upon becoming an unrestricted free agent last summer, he signed a 4-year, $141 million contract with the Celtics. The decision was strictly his. The Hornets made clear that they would not be offering a max contract, but it still came with the sacrifices Walker gave up. The comfort of spending his seasons in a city he adopted as his hometown, the power of being a team's primary option, and the freedom that comes with being franchise's lone star. He sacrificed those things so he could be where he is now, playing for a team that enters the restart as one of the few legitimate championship contenders, and will almost certainly accomplish something Walker has never done, advancing past the playoff first round. That's why I wanted to be here, the 30-year-old says. They do that every year. Entering the March shutdown, Walker has provided the Celtics everything they could have hoped, and they had returned the favor. He was averaging 21.2 points per game and drilling 37.7% of his deep looks. The 1.08 points he was recording per pick and roll possession was the league's 3rd best mark among players who have ran 5 or more per game. His off-dribble prowess, deadly pull-up, shooting and smooth scoots in the paint added punch and diversity to head coach Brad Stevens' attack. Walker's skill set also helped unlock the budding talents of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The sum of it all was the league's 5th best offensive after finishing 10th in that category last season, and 43-21 record, good for 3rd in the Eastern Conference. But Walker says there have been bumps along the way. He spent his previous 4 seasons as Charlotte's main and often lone offensive engine. The team's primary scheme, because of Walker's has lack of talent surrounding him, was simple. Give the ball to Kemba. No player ran more pick and rolls between 2016 and 2020, according to NBA.com's player tracking data, and only a handful had the ball in their hands for longer periods of time. Walker knew. Let me see how much longer this. This is longer. This is getting long. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to. This is a long article. But that, like I said, that's kind of what the whole gist of you're getting. So I'm only gonna really read that part because this article goes on for a lot more pages. It was a very good article. It's not because of that. It's just a very long article, and I want to get into some other stuff with him. And I also have a lot of Yankee stuff I want to read. That's only if we can get in here. So he's got 21.2 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 5 assists per game. 4.9 rounded up to 5 a game. Like I said, he's a very good player. And this is what a lot of people are saying is his really final chance to really show the world what he can do, what he is made of. So here's the Celtics schedule. I'm gonna read it to you, tell you if they're gonna win. Bucks, they'll lose. Trailblazers, they'll win. Heat, they'll win. Nets, they'll win, 3-1. Raptors, they'll lose, 3-2. Magic they'll win, Grizzlies they'll win, Wizards they'll win. So they're 6-2. So they're gonna go 6-2. In my opinion, through the 8 games, I think they're gonna go 6-2, possibly 7-1. That Raptors game could be a complete toss-up. I think they're gonna go 6-2. They might make the championship, and if they do, and if they win, Kemba will, finally get a shot. And I think the Celtics, they got to zone that out, though, because you can't be thinking of that. You just got to zone it out and just go out there and play your game. Because if you're thinking too much about, we got to win this, we got to do this for him, we got to do this, then all of a sudden you're not going to do it, and there goes everything. It goes down the tube from there, right? So you got to make sure that they are still focused and not 100% on, we got to make sure Kemba gets this. Now, they're going to be playing for him, right? They want to make sure that he is they really want to make sure that he is, right. They want to make sure that he gets his final, right? They do. He's been a lot of years of suffering as a player. He was with the Hornets for all those years. I mean, that is tough. Tough. Being with the Hornets is hard. Hornets are not a very good team. Hornets have been one of the lowlights in the NBA for a while, and they aren't any better now that he's gone. So the Yankees, let me just grab a quick drink here. So the Yankees and all the other MLB returned to practice yesterday. So they returned to practice yesterday. Obviously, the MLB is returning, coming back as their whole return to play proposal has been agreed upon. We already know this. This is old news by now. Blah, 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 blah. So the Yankees were back on the field. All the MLB teams were back on the field. I was watching SportsCenter yesterday, and I saw Bryce Harper taking BP. I saw the Red Sox players walking into the stadium. I saw the what are they? Who else did I see? I saw the Yankees. I saw the Yankees all over the Twitter page and the Yankees homepage. I saw the Yankees. I saw the Red Sox. I saw a ton of other teams. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, all those teams are walking in. Oh, yeah, Bryce Harper and the Phillies. All those teams are walking in, they were throwing in the outfield, doing things like that. I'll tell you what, it made me very happy yesterday. Now, one thing that does stink is, you're like, okay, great, we got a season back. It looks like everything's normal, and you're like, oh, great. There's a virus still going on. It got me. I was very happy to see it, and I was like, oh, finally, baseball's back. But then, you're like that for 3 seconds, and you're like, well, if one player catches this, and this is what's big for the MLB. If you'll see in 2 weeks now if everything's going good, because usually it takes, I think, about 2 weeks to develop the symptoms. I think it takes about 2 weeks to develop the symptoms. I'm not a big expert. Like I said, I'm mainly a sports guy. I mainly watch sports news. I don't really watch the regular news. I'm not an expert. I think it takes 2 weeks to develop the symptoms. But it was very cool to see him out there. I saw Judge, Voit, Cole. There was multiple reports that Cole almost was nearing 100 in his return there. So I saw Cole, Judge, Voit, Cole, Hicks, pitching coaches, regular coaches, hitting coaches. All the coaches were there. Aaron Boone, everybody like that, the whole shebang. It was cool. It was really, really, really cool to see. And I'll tell you what, it looked like it was under control too. Everybody was social distancing. The coaches had masks on. The players obviously didn't because, same thing with me. My games I don't have to wear a mask. We don't have to wear a mask. Luckily, we don't have to wear a mask. It would get way too hot. But, you have to, obviously when they get there, they have to probably get, their temperature checked, everything like that. But when they were out on the field, it looked like a normal baseball practice. And that's one thing that I liked. I would like baseball to be closest to normal as they can. If you can't get fans in there, get it closest to normal as they can. At least close to normal. It looked normal. It looked like they were just on a regular old practice day with no fans. I mean, it actually looked so normal. I mean, it did. Sunny day. They had Cole on the mound. Like, it looked like a normal practice. The pitching coach was wearing masks. That was the one thing that didn't really look normal. But, from the video they showed, it didn't look, to be honest, it looked good. It looked good. It looked like it was run smoothly. It looked like they made sure the player safety was at the top of their game. Everybody, all the coaches were wearing masks, obviously, except the players. They did have a catcher behind home plate, which I know a lot of people have debated, should there be a catcher behind there, because, it's not really social distancing. But, you can't not have a catcher. Where are you going to throw the ball to, people? Where are you going to throw the ball to? What are you going to do? Throw it in the back wall and have to retrieve it every time? What are you going to do? Have a bucket of balls behind the pitcher's mound? Just throw one in, then hits the back wall, throw one in, then where's the umpire going to go? Is the umpire going to catch it? Just throw one in. Yep, there he goes. Throw one in. All right, we're continuing to throw here. Hitting off the back wall, that's a strike. It's a strike. That's strike 3. Where are you going to throw to if you have no catcher? I get the whole deal with, there shouldn't be a catcher. No catcher because you got the umpire, catcher, batter right there. No, you're on top of each other. And so where are you going to throw the ball to? Let's just throw it into the back wall. At Wrigley Field, you got the brick back there. Let's just really rough up the brick. Let me just throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball right at the back wall. Why don't I throw it right at the netting? Right where the people are sitting. Why don't I throw it right at the netting? You're going to have a catcher, people. You can't not have a catcher. I'm sorry. But yeah, it looked like a normal practice, and it really made me happy to see that out there. It really did. Baseball season's upon us, and I know a lot of people are like, it's only a 60 game, but it's better than nothing. It really is. It's better than nothing. And I will admit, at moments I was like, they shouldn't even play a season, because there was really some lowlights during this whole MLB situation. Now it looks like MLB's the front-run sport, unlike NHL. I mean, NBA looks like they're going to return. NHL, you haven't really heard much from. NHL, again, is silent. Like, it's weird because, NHL was really the first league to get everything together. And they were the ones who said, too, we're not going to play a season. Then you had all these other leagues, for example, the MLB that was really struggling to get back. And now look, the MLB looks like MLB is the most socially distant sport out of the 4 major. In my opinion, those are the 4 major sports. Everybody has their opinion. The 4 major sports, everybody has their opinion. A lot of people say, the 4 major sports could be, baseball, basketball, hockey, and soccer. Or hockey and football could be the 4 majors. Hockey, football, and I don't know, soccer, NASCAR could be the 4 major sports. Right? A lot of people have different. But in my opinion, the 4 major sports, the baseball looks like they're going to be the most smooth right now. So, that being said, it looks like 20 to 30% of the Yankee Stadium could be filled. Yankees owner hopes to have fans during 2020 season fill Yankee Stadium 20 to 30%. The whole fans, in my opinion, it's just going to be so hard to get them in. I feel like a little bit. But I think they'll be good. I think it would be actually good. I think 20-30%. So I did the numbers. If there's about 40,000 in Yankee Stadium, 20 to 30% is about like 13,000, 12,000 or so, which is a lot. But I think if you find a way to sit them 6 seats apart, make sure they're temperature checked, make sure they're healthy, maybe a liability waiver, blah blah blah, then you can allow them in. That's 12,000 liability waivers. It's a lot. For a stadium, it's not, but that's a lot. Like, 12,000 people is a lot of people. So, throughout the negotiations between players and the owners to get the 2020 season started, the messaging we heard from owners said that without fans in the stands, they couldn't afford to pay the players. That's why they kept asking for fewer games than the players wanted. Now that we know the season will probably consist of 60 games, not probably, that would be consist of 60 games amid the pandemic, it's interesting to see some players speaking publicly about having fans at games. Hal Steinbrenner, Yankees owner, spoke with Yes Network about having fans at games Thursday. He said he thinks that 54,000 seat Yankee Stadium could be filled 20 to 30% at some point during the 2020 season, and that the team was already talked with the New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. These conversations have already happened. Steinbrenner says, we've already had lots of conversation with the governor's office, and he's been great. He's been he's been a big advocate of getting sports back on the field, and then eventually, when things are safe, getting fans back in the stadium. We've done a lot of work. Ticketmaster has been great helping us out, really putting a diagram together which would keep everybody at least 6 feet apart and would be limited. I'm sure it would be the 20 to 30% range. Hopefully at first, it's definitely a possibility, and the stadium keeps people at a safe distance wearing masks at those capacities. Everything is lining up for fans, and some ballparks should show up running at roughly a quarter capacity and requiring masks. It appears last week, Astros owner Jim Crane said having fans in Houston was the plan at some point during the season. So at some point during the season. Like I said, the season's going to range about 2 months. So 4 to 8 weeks. So let's just say like 8 weeks, 2 months. So that's going to lead you into about August or so. Somewhere in August, September. Maybe by beginning of August. Maybe by like the 20th game. Because you got to think about this. You got to think about this, people. Remember, you have to think about this. Okay? Think about this. You can't do it really right now because some states are seeing a spike in cases. That's because they're reopening. You reopen, you're going to notice a spike in cases. When you reopen and the cases get back down low, which could be a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, maybe about a month from now, which would be about 20 games, 10 games between the season. And you could be able to put fans in the stadiums. So I don't know if it would be right away, and that's what all these articles are saying. That's what everybody's saying. And not so much that it would be right away, first game, bang, opening day, you got fans at the Yankees national games in National Park. That's not so much what they're saying. Could it happen? Sure, it's a possibility. But I think what they're saying is some point in the season. Maybe it's only for the postseason. You might only see fans in the postseason. You might only see fans maybe for the final 15, 20 games of the season. Right? Maybe you only see fans for a couple of games. You might not see it, but their whole goal here is to try to get fans into the ballpark, right? Because of the revenue loss. They're going to lose a ton of money if they don't get fans into the ballparks. That's why that's why the NFL is going to fill up the lower bowl of the stadium with ads so they can make their ad money and they can make more money. You know, people look at the ads, oh, we got this, boom, boom, boom. Right? Now we're making money off of this. Instead of all the fans, right? That's where these teams make the money, people, is the fans. Right? For example, like if the Yankees fill 20-30%, that would really help the revenue loss. For a 54,000 seat stadium, 12,000 fans, about 13,000 fans, 12,000, somewhere around there for like a 13,000 seat stadium, you could really get a decent amount of fans in there. And like I said, it's not so much at the beginning of this. It's not so much at the beginning. It's not so much bang, like I just said, boom. Nationals Park opening day, Yankees National, 20 to 30% of Nationals Park will be open. No, it's maybe middle to the end of the season. Maybe the final 20 games and into the postseason you'll see fans. Maybe. Maybe it's just a couple of games they're experimenting. If it goes well, you don't see a rise in cases, then you continue to go into the postseason and have fans, right? Like they said, they want to make sure it's safe for fans, right? They like I said, with Ticketmaster and everything, well, all this seating apps, they're making sure. Let me first say, there's a ton of seating apps out there. There really is. There's a ton. You got Vivid Seats, you got Ticketmaster, StubHub, SeatGeek. You have a ton. There's a ton of seating apps out there. Like there's getting more and more. I feel like each day. That's where they make all their money too. Is from all these ticket places, right? You're getting. It's not like everybody buys off of one ticket place. There's multiple ticket places. You got people buying off of Vivid Seats. You got people buying off of Ticketmaster, StubHub, SeatGeek, all those places, right? That's the thing. They want to make it safe for the fans, so they want to make it 6 feet apart, which I would imagine is around like 6 seats apart. So you can put one person here, 6 seats there, 6 seats away, put a person in that 7th seat. One person there, blah, blah, blah. And you have to make sure that there's social distance behind them too, right? Now, it's outdoors too. That's one thing. You might see dome stadiums have to open their dome because they got to let fresh air get in, right? They got to get the... Now, you're going to have air come in. It's not completely enclosed dome stadium. You're going to have the gates open and things like that. Probably take your temperature before you enter the stadium. If you have a temperature, you have a high temperature, you got to leave, go get checked, I guess. Things like that. Those are all the precautions they have to take. A lot of people are like, oh, why can't you just put like 10,000 fans in here? Well, you got to realize liability waivers, the social distancing part of things, the whole temperature part, the whole making sure people outside aren't, congregating and stuff. And masks, too. You got to make sure everybody's wearing a mask. Maybe they could supply masks, too. I wouldn't be surprised if you see one of these MLB teams have a mask giveaway. They give away their team's mask. The masks are becoming a fashion statement around sports. You can get a sports team's mask now. You can get, so many different masks. It's crazy. You can go out and buy, a sports team's mask. You can go out and buy, a Yankees mask, a Jets mask. You can go out and buy all these teams' masks. But fans in the stadium, it might not happen immediately, but it could happen. And I think that's a big step for the MLB. So that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It is 4th of July weekend, like I said. It just goes out of everything. A good hour podcast. Everybody's wearing masks these days. It's crazy. And masks are becoming a fashion statement too. They really are. They're becoming like who has a cooler mask? That's what everybody's talking about. Who has a cooler mask? If you really think about it, it's just the mask, but it's becoming such this big thing. Everybody's talking about, oh, what mask are you wearing? What mask? But that's what it's gonna be like. If you get fans, they're gonna have to wear some sort of mask inside the stadium. So that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Have a good 4th of July weekend. I'll be back at it on Monday. Very soon I'll be starting out my my Around the Diamond podcast and my Around the Diamond fantasy podcast. I'll probably I'm trying to organize a fantasy baseball league. Don't know quite if it's gonna happen. I've got 2-3 people in it. I'm hoping to get at least 6. 4 is okay, but I'm hoping to get 6. 4 would be the least. 4 is the least. You at least need 4 to start a fantasy league. I wouldn't mind 4. I would like to get 6, but if it is 4, then I'm gonna have to deal with it. It kind of was last second. I had a league going, and then with everything hit, and now it's a kind of last second thing, and I don't know what's all going on with it. But anyway, I'll be starting that up soon. Everybody enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Do whatever you're doing. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully if you're watching fireworks, if whatever you're doing, hanging out with family, friends. Hopefully you enjoy it. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. As you all know, I take off on the weekends, so everybody have a good weekend. Have a good 4th of July, and hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.